Alright, I'm gonna try this again. I did this whole video yesterday on the way home from work and missed my turn. Had to go down the expressway and get off the off ramp and get back on the on ramp and come back around. Did the whole video, about 20-minute video, 25-minute video, and the air from the vent was blowing real loud. It wasn't worth a crap. I couldn't even listen to it. So looks like we got some traffic today. I gotta go all the way over to the other side of town, so I got a little time. So I wanted to make this video. We're not in the hive. It makes some videos in the hives. We talk about individual hives, but not the overall scope of things or what's going on. I told you I wanted to talk to you about, life in the year of a beekeeper, and keep you informed about the whole year and what's going on with everything. And sometimes that's not individual things that's going on each day, but an overall view of the whole operation. If you've been keeping up, I started with one hive that overwintered. I've caught a bunch of swarms in swarm traps, and now I'm up to, I still think I'm about 25. I got an online app that I use called Bee Plus, and I was looking at it, and it was saying 25. I might have a couple more than that, but about 25 hives. So the whole operation, I'm wanting to get built up to 50 and think I'll be able to do it by next year if I catch some more swarms. And I'm able to split these hives. I think I'll be up to 50. I think I'll be up to more than that, but we shall see how it goes. You never know with beekeeping. You've got a plan, but it's hard to accurately plan because you never know what's going to happen, and the weather. You never even know if you're going to make there's going to be a nectar flow or a honey crop or not. I've seen some years where you just didn't collect any honey at all, hardly. You make all these plans and work all year long. You work a whole year for next year's crop, and it's aggravating when it just works out. It's too much rain or not enough rain or whatever. Sometimes you don't always make a honey crop. That's why it's sometimes good to sell nukes and do other stuff, but if you're building up, it's hard to do that as well, as because you're using all your nukes and splits to build your own hives. But once you get to your number, whether it's 2 or 10 or 15 or 100 or whatever, you can do a lot of things. Make queens, raise queens, sell nukes, sell your splits, do a lot of stuff because you're not building up anymore. You're gonna have extra bees, and if you don't do something with them, they're gonna swarm and end up in the trees. And maybe that's all right with you, but it's not all right with me. So I'm either gonna keep them and use them myself, or I'm gonna sell them to other people or give them away or whatever. But you're gonna have extra bees no matter how many hives you want to have. Good strong hives, you're gonna have extra bees in them. But for my 10, I was looking today, I think I got 10 at home and 15 at the property we bought. They're all doing pretty good. I've got one that I combined with another hive using, I didn't have newspaper, so I used paper towels, and they took them paper towels out almost immediately. It was unbelievable how fast they was able to tear those paper towels and get them out of there. But the top box, I actually split the top half of that hive. It was a single hive body, not knowing that they didn't have a queen. I just pulled the top off of it and took it to the property. So that half over there, I'm gonna have to look at. I haven't been able to look at those the way I wanted to, but I have looked at the ones at the house. So I combined that one. The rest of them are doing pretty good. The singles, my idea was to try to overwinter singles, and I have split some of those off, just like I talked about. There's some other ones there. 2 hives at the property I know of have got queen cells in them. actually didn't take good notes, so I forgot that they were raising a queen. I usually try to leave them alone during that time, and till they get the queen emerged and mated, and till she's had time to be laying good, and then I try to get in there. So I got in there a little early. A little bit disappointed with the number of queen cells and the quality of what they look like. So I'm kind of chickening out on my overwintering singles ideal. I know what to do to overwinter doubles, and I've got a bunch of singles that's really strong. I've combined a lot. I've done a lot of combining and equalizing and taking frames of brood, just full frames of brood, and putting them with hives that didn't have as much, or trying to raise a queen. There's another one. Split that I made, basically a three frames of bees, and I ended up putting, I think, 3 or 4 more frames of cat brood in with them to raise a queen. So I think they'll do good. But I've got several at home. I extracted a honey. I had probably 6 to 7 supers of honey, extracted that honey, and they were all my singles, even after all the equalizing and combining and all that. Were really strong. So I went ahead and put those empty honey supers on those hives, and they've got them about an 1/8 full in about a week, or a little less than a week. So there's was bringing in honey. They're getting in my garage. I've had an issue with them. I've had some honey in the attached garage. It's not sealed up perfectly, and they're finding their way in, but they can't find their way out. So I've been opening the garage up every night, just letting them come in there and go in and clean that up, and be done with it. So, and then I set a little bit of extracting equipment out, and let them clean that up too. So they've been really interested in that. So it makes me think maybe the flows drop back off, but it's hard to say. Somebody I seen today on Facebook that I'm in Kentucky, kind of north central Kentucky, close to Louisville. And somebody today was saying on Facebook that there's goldenrod blooming, but I haven't seen that at all. But there was 2 or 3 people said there was goldenrod. Somebody was asking what the yellow pollen was coming in the hives, and goldenrod was the answer, which I don't know. Maybe it was a little further south, or I don't know. I haven't seen it, but I don't know at all. So we'll see. But if that is, I guess it's a good sign. If the goldenrod takes off, it'll be in another flow. We've had a lot of rain, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. But anyway, the ones at home are doing pretty good. I've got some doubles that are still packing out. I've been taking off my strong hives again and putting them in the weak hives, and they're filling up a frame or 2 here and there. I fed the weak ones, been feeding. At one time, about 3 weeks ago, there was no pollen or nectar coming in at all. I had some hives that had no pollen in it. They had a little bit of honey that they'd made, and the band that usually contains pollen was empty. There was no pollen in the hive. So I got some Ultra Bee and made up some patties, and I put those in the hive, and I put just enough in there. I don't really put a lot. I put just enough in there that they'll consume. I know they'll consume it pretty quick. And if they need more, I'll put some more in there. But they've been taking that really good. There's one that took it a little bit slow. I think it was that one with 3 frames split I made. But they were still taking it, which is a good sign. It's one way you can tell if your bees are done. You can have a lot of bees in there, and if they're not taking the sugar syrup and the pollen patties, usually something's wrong. So they're all doing pretty good. Like I said, I gotta get out to the property and check those hives. I made, in the wintertime, I made what I thought I would need as far as boxes and frames and foundation, and once again I was wrong. So I made up I found me some of my screen bottoms that the screen had come out of them. I repaired those. I think I made 5 screen bottoms, made 5 complete single hives, and I've about used all that up. I bought some foundation. I bought the Acorn foundation. I think I got 200 sheets of that. I've been using some of it, and they've been pulling it out pretty good. I'm not a fan of plastic foundation, because it seems like they always jack it up and pull comb the wrong way. But they've been pulling this out good. It looks really neat. It's black foundation with comb pulled out on it, so it's really, I don't like plastic, but I've never used black plastic, so that's pretty cool. But I got to get out tomorrow. I'm gonna go out to the property if the weather permits and check those hives. I got to take what boxes and frames and foundation I've got out there. I cleaned out the frames I had in the swarm traps out. I may still have a few, so I have to take my drill, because they got the lid screwed on, and take it out there and make sure if there's any frames in that. But I'm needing those frames pretty bad. So I'm kind of in a holding pattern now, because I feel like the dearth is on and the flow has stopped. So I don't really want to be making any splits or raising any more queens right now. I'm going to kind of wait till the flow starts and then reassess and go from there. I've got most of my hives. It was weird to me, because most of the swarms that I caught, I assumed would all have the old queens, but in looking at the queens, probably 75% of them were this year's were actually an after swarm, where they had swarmed with a virgin queen. But I do have probably 5 or 6 blue queens or last year's queens that I need to, I want to, and I'm assuming they're last year's. I guess they could be older than that. I don't really know how old they are. And of course, don't know their history or background or what kind they are, other than color and all that. So I want to go ahead, I think, and replace those blue queens and put some of this year's queens in there. Local queens, one of the things I've learned is that, and a lot of people argue with me, but I know everybody does everything different, but in my experience, local queens have done a ton better for me than queens bought from a different climate, or from down south, or even up north, or any queens that I've bought. Local queens have always done better. So I'm wanting local queens. I'd like to raise some of my own queens, but I just hate to expend the resources to take frames out of my own hives when they're growing. I'm trying to get them to grow and trying to be as strong as possible going into fall, and as healthy as possible. So I kind of hate to take bees out to make up a starter colony for raising queen cells. I have grafted a little bit. I feel like I could graft and make me 10 or 20 queens. I think I could put them in a nuke, and it wouldn't take a lot, but I'm still deciding whether I want to try to raise my own queens and risk losing those resources, or if I want to talk to one of the guys in the club or somebody close by and try to get a queen from one of those. If it's a good quality queen and it's local, it's here in the area, and they've selected from their, survivor stock, from good stock, I would be okay with a local queen. So I don't know yet. I'm still deciding what to do about that. Either way, I'm going to wait until we start getting some nectar in, till the goldenrod comes in, or till we get something in to start seeing about that. But I think I want to get those blue queens out and try to have all white queens going into fall and be ready for next spring. So that's a plan. Another plan is to get all my hives mite checked. I've checked 3 hives so far with the alcohol wash. This is the first year I've ever done that. We always checked them with screen bottoms and sticky boards, but I want to use that alcohol wash. I'd like to use it on every hive, but the 3 I checked only had 1 mite in 3 hives. So I was glad of that, but I think until I get some strength built up in these hives, I don't think I'll have a problem with the weaker ones or the ones that's still building up. I think my problem, most of my mite problem, which are going to have mites, is going to come next year. But I want the hives that you have problems with mites with are usually your strong hives, the ones you think, oh, well, they're so strong and so healthy, I don't have to worry. They're the ones that the mites devastate. And you're like, what happened? That was my best hive. So all my strong hives, I want to mite check and do an alcohol wash, and then treat them if it's needed. If I get more than 3 or 4 mites in that cup in one hive, then I'm going to put a treatment on there. I'm going to do an Apivar is what I've got. I'm going to do that. I've had or heard mixed reviews on the Apivar and its effectiveness, but I'm going to do that, and I'm going to follow up with the oxalic acid this winter in December and try to catch them when they don't have any brood or much brood in there, and do a treatment with that too. So that's my biggest problem that I had before. You know, if you've watched these videos, you know that, you know, I basically let them do their thing, and they was either going to live or die, and they all died except for one. So I'm going to definitely try to take care of the mites. The other thing is, and taking care of mites is part of it, but just to have healthier bees, you know, these little dearths, and just like I was telling you about, not that several hives that didn't have pollen. You know, if they have to go, you know, even a couple weeks without pollen or without nectar, a lot of times your hives will survive things, but it weakens them and stresses them out, and then they're subject to other diseases and viruses and things. That's but just because they're not you know, taken care of, or not as healthy as they could be, their nutrition is not good enough. So you kind of got to know, you know, it'd be nice in beekeeping if somebody could tell you and say, well, you know, this time of year do this, and this time of year do that. And, you know, the way you manage in April is different than the way you manage in May or June, and July is different than that. And then going into fall, it's all different. It's all changing. But you know, even with that said, each hive is different too. And somebody can't tell you, well, they can tell you in July, make sure you do this, or in August, make sure you do that, and that's fine. But you have to know when you go into that hive. You know, somebody was asking the other day, well, to feed or not to feed, you know, that'd be the question, I think is the way they put it. You can't say that for every hive. You got to be able to look at your hives, and there's going to be some that needs to be fed, and some you need to leave alone. One of the most important things you can do to some hives is just leave them alone. We get into hives that's perfectly fine and end up causing problems. We grow the queen or kill the queen or rearrange stuff or just slow them down. Just inspecting a hive. My dad and I had hives, and I was gung-ho about keeping bees. We had pretty close to the same number and pretty close to the same strength level, and I was gung-ho and checking them, and he didn't, and he made honey and I didn't. So know when to stay out.